Hey, thanks for joining. You did it. Nice job. Introducing our project management trainer, speaker, author, and coach to thousands of professionals and organizations worldwide, including NASA, the U.S. Air Force, USACE, U.S. Army, the Department of Transportation, the FBI. Your friend, Phil. Over to you, Phil.
Hello, my friends. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. I am really sorry to hear that some of you were thrown off today. One of my students reported back from the United Arab Emirates, and unfortunately, without even any inkling to what was going on, he was just cut off and told his exam cannot hold. And I know how emotionally distressful this can be to you, but I wanted to give you some hope. I wanted to assure you that from what I've seen, this generally works best for you. Can you imagine going to a center where things don't turn out as you imagine that they would health-wise? God forbid, or let's say you go to a center and you're so emotionally unstable as a result of what's going on, So just relax. The PMI, they will do what is in your best interest, working with Pearson VUE. Now, I don't know if you guys had seen what the PMI put out. The PMI have put out a notice regarding the COVID-19, I want to call it a pandemic, but it's pretty much what it's become. Let's just be honest, even though it hasn't been declared as such. But anyway, this is what the PMI put out, and I just wanted to go over it with you. It reads, PMI Coronavirus COVID-19 Update. PMI is committed to the safety and well-being of our global community. Our crisis task force is monitoring the situation arising from coronavirus disease 2019 daily. To assure your health and well-being, we have made decisions impacting several global events. We have sent email communications to those of you who have registered for these events that have changed. However, here is a high-level summary of events that we changed. PMI events impacted. Global Executive Council meeting in Dubai. PMI Board of Directors meeting, virtual. Leadership Institute Masterclass, postponed. Latin America Leadership Institute meeting, virtual, reconfigured. We're evaluating events on a case-by-case basis based on location and timing. Because the situation continues to rapidly evolve, we may make further adjustments to our 2020 scheduled events, and we'll continue to communicate those changes as soon as possible. As with planning for every PMI meeting, event, and activity, safety and welfare of all attendees is top of our mind. However, please follow the travel advisories and use individual discretion and an abundance of caution pertaining to worldwide travel as it relates to PMI-sponsored events. All travelers should be aware of coronavirus preventative measures and travel advisories. Good sources of information include the WHO, World Health Organization, CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and country travel advisories related to the country that you're visiting. PMI event attendees. Event attendees traveling to PMI meetings, events, and activities should be aware of the travel advisories from Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and adjust your attendance accordingly. If you have traveled to any country identified on the CDC risk assessment in the past 14 days, we ask that you refrain from attending our event. Contact our events team to cancel your registration. Well, that was from the PMI recently put out, and I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. And at the same time, I want to share with you, before we go any further, how to make sense out of what is happening. I've had a lot of students who have had tests canceled in more strenuous and distressful circumstances, such as traveling 200 or 300 miles by car to your test center only to be told that as a result of weather delays, your exam will not hold. Or the student who was holed up in a hotel hoping to go for his exam the next day only to realize he was snowed in and couldn't even leave the hotel for a number of days. Couldn't take the exam, couldn't leave the hotel. But what happened in these two incidents is these students aced the exam when they finally took it. One was out of the UK, The other was out of the US in Virginia, and they both succeeded. So I would like to give you some hope about your exam, and I'm going to be sharing with you what I think should be your next steps as far as this cancellation or delay is concerned. It's not a cancellation, it's really more of a delay. So don't look at it like, oh, I'm never going to be able to take the pilot exam. Some of you are looking to take the pilot exam. Some of you are looking to take the current exam. Same thing. Don't panic. So I'm going to share with you my top tips if you are one of those students that was affected. First of all, I don't want you to panic and think, oh, the PMI, they don't care. That's the end of my exam experience. What am I going to do? And all those negative things. Don't think like that. Please don't think like that. At the end of the day, like I said, a lot of people have been through similar experience, not with COVID, but with the exam in general. And the PMI made it right. The PMI is not saying you will never take any of these exams again. Okay? So, my first piece of advice is don't be sad and don't panic. There's a tendency to panic and think that everything that you did has gone to naught. No, it has not gone to waste. All the studying, all the labor, all the toiling you put in, trust me, it is going to come back and you are going to reap the benefit. All right. But one thing I need you to do is just know the PMI, they'll work with Pearson, they will make it right. I know that much about them, that they will make it right. Secondly, keep studying. You got to keep the momentum going. Okay, I don't want you falling off the wagon and saying, oh, I can't keep studying, I'm frustrated. No, you cannot afford to do that. Because what happens if the lights get switched on in a couple of weeks or next week or in a few days? You just never know. So you got to keep that momentum going. And I want you to keep tuning into the station, this one, and just keep on listening to what I have to say. As far as the exam is concerned, you know I've got your back. I don't want you to ever think, oh, I'm all alone in this. No, you're not. No, you're not. I've been through 6 PMI exams, and I know how frustrating it can be. I don't want you to feel that you're all alone in this thing. If nothing else, you know your buddy Phil's got your back, okay? That's why I show up. I give you quizzes. I try to amuse you, try to keep you calm in spite of all that's going on. It's because I've been there. I know how it is for some of you. I feel bad that some of you have put a weekend on hold. I mean, you told your family, look, I just need this weekend. Next week, I'll get done with the exam. Things will be back to normal. And they're not, because you know that you cannot go next weekend without keeping the momentum up. So you're going to have to take another weekend off and another one off. And the journey has continued. I understand. But don't worry. We're 6 feet above ground right now. That's something to celebrate. Keep things in their proper perspective, okay? We're able to take the exam. You're going to do well. You're going to keep the momentum going. You're not going to fall off the wagon. So keep studying, okay? Thirdly, ask your friend Phil. Ask me questions. Ask me a question right now. You got any questions that you want me to answer? You need me to help you make sense out of what is happening? I'll help you. I've been there before. I've been training this stuff since 2005. 15 years. So I've seen a lot of what you guys haven't. And I can give you a lot of advice. I've heard from students what worked, what didn't. So just ask me a question, all right? I'm here to help you. Never forget that. Your friend Phil is here to help. And if you're struggling and wondering, well, how am I going to get back up? You can always go to Praizion.com. We've got courses, we've got materials, we've got insights. Those of you looking for work, we've got a media page where you can get a totally free breakdown of what to do if you're looking for a job and all sorts of great stuff. So I'm not just here, okay, to twiddle my thumbs and waste time. No, I'm here to help you. I want to help you, okay? So if you've got any questions or you need to make sense out of what is going on, I always encourage people to send in a message. Now, I know some of you have sent in a few messages of late, and I want to address some of those messages and appreciate you guys sending them in. So let me go into the chat box and see those messages that you guys have very kindly left. And right now, of course, you know, if you're watching on YouTube Live, It's told you that this is live. Send in any message or any chat that you would like me to address, anything you would like me to focus on. For my great PMPs, those of you who were looking forward to taking the exam in other parts of the world, I understand. Don't worry. It's all going to be good. It's all going to be good. So any questions for me or concerns, I want to address them right now. Right now, I can see a couple of them. So Robert said to Ali, you go, you can do this. So Ali, you're being encouraged by Robert. And Trapstar said, great content, I really liked it. Well, I appreciate you leaving these comments on these videos. And let me just go to the other comments that have been left. Let's see. Any comments right now, right this second? I don't really see any comments right this moment. Let me go to some comments that have been left. I don't see any existing comments. But remember, if you have any existing comments right now, it's not too late. It's never too late to leave them. I'm going to try to go to the group mailbox and see if there are any comments there. Okay, let's take a look. Sharon Joy says, my exam is on the 18th of March. Took the week off and revisiting concepts for the next 7 days. You see, this is part of what I'm talking about. So Sharon Joy, thanks for sending this message. I really hope that your work and your toiling is gonna go as you planned. So I wish you all the very best, Sharon Joy. Powering On says, hi Phil, are you available for a few hours of tutoring? In April I will be. Right now we're winding down our massive February, March PMP exam training endeavor, and we've had a number of students who are going for the pilot exam, and we've been mentoring and training those folks. So it's going to round up next week, and they've got tomorrow we've got situational question night, where we're going to strip all these horrible questions, these situational questions. We're going to strip them down. We're going to break them apart. We're going to dissect them. So those of you that are my pilot students, you know what to do. I might put up a notice for those more advanced students. If you want to join, it is going to be available, but you're going to have to watch out, because I may not put up the notice as quickly. But if you watch the channel, I'll put up the notice sometime tomorrow. And if you want to join that, all you need to do is just pay the subscription, and boom, you're in. Vidya says, thank you, Phil, for calling out M and C as a process group. Process groups are just buckets and do not represent a timeline. Very good. So Vidya, if you're watching, go to page 555, okay? Page 555 in the PMBOK guide. I always have my PMBOK guide handy, don't I? Go to page 555 and check out that image, and you'll see the overlap. There's so much overlap that, I mean, it's so easy to see that these are just buckets. They overlap on the timeline. Alays said, your videos are amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alays. Hina Ansari says, now that I'm certified, I'm jumping into another cert that is in line with what you do, talking about life coaching. Lovely. Congratulations. Ali says, thanks, Phil, on your brilliant reply. Thank you, Ali. I hope you're enjoying the course. British Andrews. Yes, you are indeed on our LMS. The live feed, there's actually no schedule. You see, I just got off a project management oriented meeting, and I thought I got to speak to my peeps. So, usually my days are wiped out with activity. There are messages that I've not seen. There's emails I've not been able to see. But most importantly, I wanted to get to you, lovely students of mine, those of you who are subscribed to the channel, and just give you some hope and encouragement. So I'm a little bit behind on email. Oh dear. Sky Marshal, I'm very sorry to hear this. Sky Marshal said, I missed my exam with a below target for the executing process group, mainly because I was too superficial on project documents. Oh dear. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm glad that this video, I will type in the video that Sky Marshal is talking about. Maybe someone else can benefit from the project documents video. I have a curriculum on project documents, and I usually advocate that people take a look. Oh, there she is. Oh, I didn't notice you were on. Well, very good to see you on, and I'm really happy that you're on a learning management system, and I hope that it helps you, British. I hope it helps you. Very good to see you on. How are you enjoying the system? Is it all making sense? And is there anything you would like me to address now that you're on live? Just let me know. I'll be more than happy to jump in. Olivia said, Phil, please share the link to Study Hall. Olivia has edited it. Olivia, it's been a while. I haven't seen you for a long time. It's like 2 years. Where have you been? But it's good to see your message here. And I'm glad you've got the link. Yes, you must log into projectmanagement.com to see the Project Management Study Hall, the PMI Study Hall. So let me copy that into everyone on YouTube right now so that they can hit up the study hall. Arash, how you doing? Arash Mehdi, that is one of my buddies, my PMP buddies' last name, Mehdi. Arash says, hi Phil, any chance I could come to you and you train me to pass the exam? So tell me, Arash, which exam are you taking? Because right now we're rounding up our virtual classes for February, March, but we'll have classes in April. So it really depends on when you are looking at taking the exam. Okay, it really depends. But my friends, go to the PMI's study hall, and the reason why I'm copying it in here is they have a question of the day, and the questions of the day, they stink. They're horrible, and in a good way. In that, I want you to know their trickery. Those questions are evil, in a good way. Talk about using bad for good. The questions are bad, man. And the questions, they get these questions, in my mind, from previous questions. So going to the study hall, you see a question of the day. And let's see what question of the day they've got. These exam writers, they're just so bad. It seems like this question hasn't changed for the past 3 days. A team member informs the project manager that they must complete a critical task outside of the project. This will pose a schedule risk to the project. I don't know if you guys have gone there and checked out what the PMI has for you, but this is what I can see right now. So this is the question of the day. I advise people to go in there every day, see if there's anything new, play around with it. Okay. British says something about critical path. The critical path method is killing me. Why? Tell me what's going on with that. Tell me which piece of it is the curveball. Maybe I can give you some ideas. So Arash, you want to go for PMP, but when? Am I going to join the new Akbar Aswer? Are you going to join the new ATP program? Very good question. So if the PMI behave themselves, which I don't think they will, but if they do, I might. But I don't think they're going to behave themselves. I think they're just plowing down the paths they want to. But to be quite honest with you, to be really honest, the PMI is not the leadership of the PMI right now. You know what I mean? They've got leaders and they've got real leaders. In my mind, the leadership, they're not worthy of my accolades right now. I was a raving fan once before, but right now, in the interest of what is happening in the world of project management, I don't think they're acting in the best interest of PMPs. And that's really what gets me, because I've trained thousands of PMPs all around the world. And my mindset is do what is best, not just for your pocket. do what is best, 1, for the people, 2, for the business, 3, for profits. I strongly believe in what our 5 esteemed colleagues did in 1969. 5 people just like you and me. Imagine them sitting down in a cafe somewhere in Pennsylvania and saying, why don't we put together a body, a non-profit organization? Non-profit. Read my lips. Non-profit. Not for-profit, not railroading your partners, not trying to get the upper hand in a negotiation. Well, let's even talk about no negotiation. So in this case, it's not even a case of negotiation. It's one thing when you say to someone, come sit down, let us reason, let us talk, let's dialogue. Like we train in, at least in my PMP classes, when I train negotiation, I train people to look at it from both angles. Look at it from your point of view, look at it from my point of view. Use your common sense, a zone of possible outcomes. Think about the ZOPA, and then think about everything else. At what point do you say, okay, I'll walk away at this point, and, it's kind of like 2 sides to the coin. No, there's only one side. This is my price. You either like it or you don't. You don't like it, you're going to sink. I'm going to swim. I'm going to take away the bigger piece of the pie, and you're going to be left standing with an empty bag. That's not nice. So Akbar, don't let's even get started on this, because I know my students are trying to cope with this whole coronavirus thing. I don't want to throw in my own concerns on top of it. But I know that the PMI probably won't behave the way I want them to. So in light of that, I do not need to join the ATP program to solidify and validate who I am as a project manager. I am first a project manager. Okay? Secondly, I am a project management coach. I love coaching people. There's a difference between training and coaching, and not everybody can coach. And then thirdly, I'm a project management mentor, and then I'm a trainer. So I don't need anyone to validate me as a person, okay? Before I train, I know what I have lived, I know what I've done, I know what I've experienced, and I don't even, let's be honest, this is a lovely standard. This is not the PMI's work. This is volunteers' work. You find my name in here, you find many other professionals' names in here. We made it what it is, not some leaders in the PMI who weren't even here from the very beginning. So as I was saying, in 1969, the people who said, let us create this organization, I'm thinking about those people. So when I do what I do, when I say what I'm saying, I'm not saying that just for me. I'm speaking for every one of those individuals who sat down, thought about this, and everyone that I've trained. So I'm not very happy right now with the Project Management Institute leadership, but we're all PMI. Don't get it. Let's not get it twisted. It's not the leadership that I don't really care for right now. It's really all of us. The 1 million, for goodness sake, 1 million people took that exam in a dim-lit, I dare say many instances, a dingy room, become PMPs. So I love those people. I love the PMI. Okay? The PMI is not the leadership. It's no one in the C-suite. It's no one at the VP level. It's none of the directors. It's the people. Without us, what is the PMI? Think about it. First of all, those 5 awesome people, and then everyone that built on top of that, and then us. We're the PMI. And the PMI of yesterday, they know this. And that's why they tell you if you're writing a PMI exam, you have to read the Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct, right? So the PMI of yesterday, they knew that. Now, to be really honest, talking about where things are headed, I don't like where things are headed. I don't like where things are headed. But there's one thing I know. And one thing I know is this. The future will work itself out. Emergent activities that happen in the future will work themselves out. The marketplace will work itself out. And people know fakes and phonies a mile away. And if this fakery is bought and digested, maybe it's not fakery, But if it's rejected by the marketplace and you see the numbers beginning to diminish, then you know your buddy Phil was right. That's probably what will happen if things don't change. Mark my words. If all leaders continue to think about is profits and their pockets and not the business, that's going to be the beginning of the end. But not for us, you see, because we're project managers. We know what we know. We do what we do. So PMP, no PMP, ACP, no ACP, CSM, no CSM, project management will continue. You know, if these organizations, if all project management organizations in the world said, oh, we're all bankrupt tomorrow, will project management not go on? Are you kidding me? Of course it'll go on. So I'm not really bothered. But as far as your question that set me off on a rabbit trail, Akbar, I probably will not support my organization joining because I don't like the way things are going. And I think they can do a lot better. All right. Enough said. You certainly know the hill to push me up to. Just let go and get me rolling down because, you know, I will have something to say about that. But it's a good question. Leave me a comment. Let me ask you this question. All those, my friends, my followers, many of you don't even know that Praizion is a registered education provider of the PMI because that's not what makes us who we are. So let me ask you, if you heard tomorrow Phil is no longer training under Praizion, a registered education provider, would you still listen to what I have to say? Or would you say, oh, it can't really be that legit, even though I'm a PMP, OPM3, RMP, SP, CAP-M, CSM, and the list continues, you know, ACP, would you not buy into what I have to say? I don't know. Drop me a comment. I want to know if you would still buy into what Phil has to say, even if he's not an REP. Drop me a comment. Some of you didn't even know I was an REP. Anyway, sorry to go off on a tangent. British says, when I have multiple boxes, for example, A to G tasks, I get confused. Okay, I'm going to show you that in a second. Just hold on and I will show it to you. Arash says, Phil, how do I get around situational questions? We're having a session tomorrow. British, you actually should attend that session, okay? It's free to those students on our learning management system. So all you need to do is go to learning management system, to the PMP exam prep camp. By tomorrow, you'll see an invite. Those of you who are on the group, you've already seen the invite. So just go to the top, you see the invite. We're going to take the nastiest of questions that exist, probably about 15 to 20 questions. And we're just going to put them on a chopping block. I'm going to show you guys the trickery. And these are my questions, okay? These are some of the questions of the day and all this terrible stuff that I showed you. We're going to be dissecting them, taking them apart, looking at them, putting them under the microscope, because it's now fair game, right? PMI said, well, here are questions that are past questions. So as part of our studying, we're going to take my most horrible questions, some of these questions of the day, I'm going to put them on a microscope, take a look at them, and see what exactly the question writers are thinking. All right, so British, you definitely want to be part of that. Arash, on this channel, I will announce it, okay? Akbar says, so we're waiting for the real leaders to step up. I'm telling you, they've already started stepping up. You're one of them. You're calling them out on this call. You're one of them. You see, a lot of times people fail to realize what leadership is. Leadership is not position or title, and I train this all the time. You know, John Maxwell, he says a true measure of leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. How many people are being influenced in the right direction by this? A lot of people aren't happy. A lot of people aren't happy at the way things are going. Anyway, let me calm down. Enough of that. Enough of that. There you go, Akbar. We need to make a hashtag. We are the PMI. Put that on social media and quote your buddy Phil for saying that. Thank you, Arash. I appreciate the confidence. Thank you. Akbar says, yes, no need for external validation for real experience and wisdom. Thank you very much. NC, welcome, my friend. How you doing? Did you get my email to you? I sent you an email yesterday, and we should probably connect on LinkedIn. So let's connect on LinkedIn. So, Arash, it is tomorrow. I haven't put up the notice right now, but I assure you, on the channel, by tomorrow morning, you'll find an advert if you want to join. And this is not recorded for people to watch after. Okay, so if you really want to be on that program, you got to attend live. It's going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific, I think it is. Okay. Arash says, "Hey Phil, my wife is next to me and listening to you. And she really likes what you have to say." Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you for the vote of confidence. Appreciate that. Marta, thank you, Marta. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And hopefully we're going to get Arash to be a PMP pretty soon, right? You're going to help him and help me to help him, right? You're going to remind him. I know he's already doing a great job of his studying, but, you know, a lot of times people, they don't realize that we are actually the cheerleaders. You know, we're the people who are supporting the PMPs. We, the people at home, people like you, Marta, you're helping him. You know, like one of my students, she said, "Phil, I asked my husband and my kids to go away for the weekend," because that was the weekend before her PMP, and she sent them off to in-laws. Monday, 4 above targets. She did it. So a lot of times the people at home, they are stakeholders, family members, spouses, kids. You know, another of my students out in Canada, he tells the funny story of how his kids, his children, they knew the PMBOK guide better than him. So in the morning when he's driving them to school, they'd go back and forth about tools and techniques. And whenever he gets any of them wrong, they will just not have mercy on him. They say, "Dad, we even know your book more than you do. It's this, or it's that." But anyway, it's good to have support from family. So thank you very much. Very nice of you. You better, or you're on the couch. That is hilarious. Okay, my friends. So I'm going to show really quickly before I get off today, just a very basic network diagram example for British, our friend here, who is studying with us on our learning management system. And I will create a network diagram just right here on the fly and go over it. So give me some assurance, British. You do know that the 0 method is the method I typically train. If you're learning the 1 method, you know I don't train the 1 method. I do not teach the 1 method. Majorly because I realized a lot of students get confused by it. A lot of students get into a tailspin regarding the 1 method. So I only train the 0 method. Is that okay? Is that the method you're learning, British? Joe, how you doing, Joe? I hope you're doing well. Hey, Sharon, good to see you on. So yes, Sharon, if you go back and listen to the video, I actually addressed your question in the very beginning. So in the very beginning, I talked about your question, Sharon. And what I said, the summary was, I wish you all the very best in your journey to March 18th. And I really hope the COVID thing doesn't delay. But anyway, I'm going to show you right now a few ideas on the critical path. And here it is, British, here it is. This is what you need to be thinking about regarding the critical path. I'll give you a very simple example. All right. Typically, you have a number of tasks. I'm going to make them just as few as possible. Let's deal with 2. Okay? Let's deal with 2 first. So if you have 2 tasks like this that are joined like that, and you have the duration, usually the duration, let's say it's 5 for this one. Let me bring it down. I'm sorry. 5 for this one, and let's say 6 for this one. That's typically how the questions may look. And then it'll ask you to calculate the critical path. So you do know what the critical path for this is. If you had A and B, let's just call them A and B. This is A and this is B. This one wouldn't pose a problem to you, would it? A and B. Tell me, British, this would not be a problem to you, would it? This would be quite straightforward. You would know what to do here, right? Would you be able to do a forward pass and a backward pass with this? Okay, let me look for something maybe a little bit more difficult for you, because it seems as though maybe this is a little bit elementary. So let me look for a more difficult one for you from my question banks. So chapter 6, maybe. Okay, I will look for something from chapter 6 and make it a little bit more challenging. So can you tell me though, would you be able to do a forward pass and a backward pass with this, British? Would you? Would you? Or not? Let's see. Okay, you would be able to. Hi, Lester. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you jumping in. So, British, let's go to a question that I already have here. Okay. So, if I showed you this, would you be able to solve this, or do you think this would get you a little bit lost? What do you think about this one? This may have been one of the ones you've encountered in the past. Sure, Arash. Send an email to support@praizion.com. Okay, I'm going to try my best to save this. I see you chatted that in, and I will save it. And just look on the channel as well, because I will post it to the channel as well. Okay, so British, tell me, do you think you could solve this one? Is this one of those tailspin ones? Or do you think you could solve it? Let me show you how to solve this really quick. Okay, real quick. All right. So it says, print the screenshot complete before advancing to the next slide. Find all ES, LS, EF, and LF values and the critical path. So find the early start, late start. Come on, guys, can you do this? Do you think you can solve this one? Oh my goodness, Joe, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh dear. I'm sorry to hear. This is the jungles. Okay. So Joe, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, just keep on watching the videos, but there's one thing I want you to do, Joe. Let me share this with Joe really quick, please. Joe, I think this could help you, and there are a lot of people raving about this on social media. Let me show you real quick. It's called PMP Exam Failure Stamp Out. You see it? And this page is where I address all of the process groups one by one. So I have 4 of them on YouTube at the moment. Closing is missing. But if you go to this link, Joe, go to that link, watch all the videos, and try to make your way back to where you got it wrong, right? So there are probably about 2 hours of videos, and then a lot more. You see, I've got many videos for people who have failed the exam, recovering from PMP exam failure shock, PMP exam boss from fail to above target. I have stories and a lot of tips on this page. If I were you, I will go through all the videos and I will print. We've got a recovery plan. Download that recovery plan. You see that plan there. If you unzip it, you'll find an Excel sheet. Do the recovery plan, go through the whole 9 yards and find out where you got it wrong. Okay, it kind of explains itself. I think that will help you, Joe. Okay, let's just say on the PMP exam, which method do they expect us to use? 0. Very good question. So as you might already know, The PMP exam, they do not demand that you use one method over another. You see, in fact, I'm looking at their book here, that PMBOK guide, and want the page 211. You could use either one for 211. So, British, let's do this. Let's do a couple of things. Let's first of all do this PMP question because it's rather easy. So let's do the PMI question first, and then we will do my jungle question. The jungle, as you called it, the Amazon. The Amazon. Okay, we'll do the Amazon one next. Okay. So, if you go to page 211, we're going to doctor up the image so that it looks like page 211. And we're looking at figure 6-16. But I think we have to settle this once and for all because I get this from so many people. Oh, is it the 1? Is it the 0? Look, my friends, any one works. But you really got to know the one you know. Know the one you're using really, really well. That's all I'll say. So let me boil it down. This is pretty much what is on page 211. I've doctored it slightly just to put in the right durations, okay? They've got this legend where in the middle is the duration. So let me see if I can draw that out for you real quick. So they've got this legend that looks something like this. And they've got one box here, one little box here, another little box here, another little box on the left and on the right, like that. And then in the middle, they've got what is the duration, like here, which I'm going to color a different color. Let's make it yellow. So they've got the duration there, and they've got total float. So here's the deal, my friends. Early start, late start, early finish, late finish. That is the legend that they've given you in the PMBOK guide, right? See that? That's the legend in the PMBOK guide. And then they have the duration. Let me make that black. That's the duration. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more for you so you can really see it, what I'm doing. Okay, so you got an idea of what I'm doing there. Take it up a little bit. And then at the bottom, they've got total float. Total float. All right, so you kind of get the picture. So for your exam, and they've got the activity name, A, B, C, or whatever it is. So let me just put this in the middle, activity name. Okay, that's the activity name. So you guys kind of get the idea of what you're dealing with. That's what you're dealing with there. All right? Good. Now, I have modified how it looks just so that it can fit my PowerPoint and how I've set up tasks when I teach. Okay? So are you following along? So, British, this is what you need to do. The first step in any of these network diagrams is to start at 0. We start at the 0 point. So right here we have a 0, as you know, from the way I've taught it online. All right, we have a 0. And then we add the duration, 0 plus 5, and then we get 5 here. And then you move the 5. This has no restrictions. You move the 5, obviously there, to B. You add the duration of 5 to make it 10. And this is where a lot of people struggle. A lot of people think that they can just move the numbers at random, but you can't. Let me use the highlighter to show you. So right here, right, you cannot move here until you know the early finish of B and you know the early finish of G. Does that make sense? It's like saying, I want to serve dinner, right? I want to serve dinner. And over here, you have the serve dinner task. And here you have drink. And here you have food. And here you have serve. Well, you cannot serve until you've got both, right? So you need to wait till both are done. So if B is done, but G is not done, you cannot do F. Because you see there are 2 arrows leading in. See? So before you start F, you need both B and G to be done. And that's why we always say the highest number that you get dictates when you can do it. So if you got done here at 10 minutes, and down here, let's take a look at the other one. Here, let's move the 5, and let's add the 10, so you have 15. Now you can see that there's really no way you can do F except you get done at the 15th minute with G. Let's say you were preparing drink and you got done at minute 10. You're preparing food, you got done at minute 15. Well, you cannot start F until minute 15. And this is where I prefer the 0 method, because I can just move the 15 in there. I don't need to do any subtraction or adding or any craziness. I just take the 15. I see it's the bigger number. I fling it in there. No further maths needed. Okay. And boom. That's how I get my 15 in there. Add the duration of 15. I get 30. Now, if you look at the PMBOK guide itself, if you look at the PMBOK guide, what do you see? You can see that everything is the same except the difference between the early start in my one is 15 and the early start in their one is 16. But what does that mean? It's just because they started on 1. That's why there's a difference. This will not affect my calculation of the slack or the float. It will not stop my calculation of leads or lags or anything. You know, it's pretty much just how you have decided to attack it. Now, depending on the question they ask you, it's very obvious. So I know that my 0 is Monday, right? 0 is Monday and 5 is Friday. For example, if this was 5 days, right? 0, Monday, 5, Friday. But it's counterintuitive, you see. That is the only thing you need to wrap your head around. But the PMI is not asking you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday questions. They're asking you, what is the critical path? You can see we both ended on 30. The PMBOK guide's critical path is 30. Mine is 30. See that? And if we calculate the differences for the slack or float, we get exactly the same thing. It's just that every ES is a +1. So if you look at A, it's 1, whereas mine is 0. If you look at B, there's a 6, mine is 5. But that is not going to take away from my subtracting LS minus ES or LF minus E. It's the same thing. So there's really no need to panic or worry about, oh, the PMI's method is no, you can use a 0 method. A lot of popular books use the 0 method. It's not a big deal. All right, so going back to backward pass, do you have any questions, British? Because I haven't really checked for questions yet. Makes sense? You would come up with the same answer, absolutely, each and every time. Each and every time. Same answer. So let's take it for a spin. Let's do the backward pass now, all right? So here's the backward pass. As the rule goes, we drop the 30. We're at the end of the chain. 30 minus 15 is 15. Take the 15 and put it in the LF of B. It's 15. 15 minus 5 is 10. Now, on the backward pass, you do know that you cannot advance to the origin task except you cannot go to A except you know both B and G. And then you always take the smallest late start, the smallest, okay, on the backward pass. So if you had 3 boxes going back in, you would always take the smallest one. Get what I'm saying? So here, we're going to move the 15 here, and then we're going to subtract again. So let's do that. So move the 15 here. 15 minus 10 is 5. And what did I say about the rule? You always take the smallest number, and that's how you have 5 here, and 5 minus 5 is 0. So let's do some random calculations here. What is the free slack or the total slack of any of these? Let's find out. Free slack. And we talk about this at length in our book. Free slack is the early start of the successor minus the early finish of the task in question, right? Total slack is the late start of task minus the early start of the task, or late finish minus early finish. See? Or total slack is late finish of task minus early finish of task. And it's a good sanity check because they should always give you the same thing, okay? Now, if you do this, looking at PMI's example here for figure 6-16, look at task B, okay? Let's do free slack first for task B. Free slack. Free slack. Okay, what is the free slack for task B? I'll put that here. Free slack for task B. Oops. Free slack for task B is going to be either the late, I beg your pardon, early start. Oh, yes. Early start. So let's do free slack for B. Early start of the successor, which is F. So this will be, let me just substitute here to make it very clear. Early start of F minus early finish of B. And that will give you the early start of F is 15. Minus the early finish of B, which is 10. So, what does this tell us? It tells us the free slack is 5. Free slack of B is 5. If I do that with PMI's one, right, they've got their own quirky way of calculating free slack based on the one method, but you would get the same thing. Unfortunately, there's no example here. See? That's why I tell people you need to go get our essentials book. Those of you that are on a course where this stuff is not broken down sensibly, you need to be in my training so that we can give you the PDF version of this book. And in British, I don't know if you've really checked out chapter 6 in this book, because there's a very long, drawn-out example about the network diagram. So I would suggest you go over it with a fine-tooth comb, but they're not examples. Obviously, the PMBOK guide is not for that. I'm sorry. I'm blocking your view. Let me take myself out of that shot. Very sorry. But you guys can see those are the formulas for free slack and total slack. And all I did was apply it. And free slack for B is that. But as far as the PMI, they don't really have a robust example. So, I mean, some folks may not even know what free slack is or what total slack is. But, I mean, it's plug and play. You see, total slack for A is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. Free slack for B, 10 minus 5 is 5. 15 minus 10 is 5. So, I beg your pardon, total slack. Did I say the wrong thing? Total slack for B is 0. Is 5. Total slack for B is 5. Total slack for G is 0. That's what you get when you're in a hurry. I'm sorry. Let me spell this out in a little bit more clarity here, just so you're not lost. Let's put this down over here. And we'll do this for, let's do total slack. Total slack for B is late finish. Let's just do late finish minus early finish. And that is equal to 15 minus 10. And that gives 5. And that's it. That's how it's done. End of story. So the free slack is 5 and the total slack is 5. But you don't always get the same number. It really depends on how complex the problem is. Okay. So that is a very namby-pamby question. But you will get the same answer. You can see the critical path is 30, just like in the PMP guide. Anyway. But that is a very simplistic illustration. Nonetheless, I hope it helps. Oh, you're studying for the CAPM British? Oh, dear. Well, this is definitely more than enough for you. This is definitely more than enough for you. Yeah, that is more than enough for you. You would come to the same answer. Very good. Okay. I hope it all made sense. Oh, you finished chapter 6 to 7? Good. Okay. I will actually put that up on the channel. So tomorrow's session is not going to be recorded, not going to be available, you know. So those folks who want to attend, you got to make sure you're on at 6 p.m. because you will not be seeing a rerun. It's going to be live, but it's going to be really crazy. All those horrible questions, the big old verbose questions, the trickery, we're going to take a look at all of it, okay, tomorrow. So I hope that helps. I'm going to solve one more problem really quickly. The first one that we were looking at. But I won't be able to go the full length in all of the problem. But let's just go back to it really quickly. So this is it. And just follow along. Just validate. See if what I'm doing matches what you're doing for the zero method. All right. We start off with 0. 0 plus 4 is 4. Then this 4 can go to C because there's only one arrow going to C. And then we add 4 plus 4 to get 8. There's only one arrow going to E, so we can move the 8 here as well. 8 plus 7 is 15. And that's as far as we can go. Go into B, we put the 4, this 4, put the 4 in there. And 4 plus 2 is 6. Okay, so what else can we do? We cannot go there. So we need to do this. We take this 4, put it here. Okay, and then add 6 and we get 10. So 4 here and 10 over there. Simple as that. And we cannot go any further because we're at a point in F. You see 4 points of conversion. 1, 2, 3, 4. So British, let me just say that as you're taking our course, that course, the quizzes that you take, those are definitely on par with the CAPM. Please do not go for the PMP mock exam that you see there. I would rather you send me a reminder and say, oh, I'm taking the CAPM because we have the easier CAPM exam that I would like you to take when you get to the end of all the chapters, okay? PMP is for those taking PMP. That is a very hard exam. You probably don't want to take that one first. You want to take our CAPM exam first, okay? So anyway, we got one more to look at. D, put the 4 here, add 1, we get 5. And there's only one arrow going to 8, so we take the 5 and put it there. And we add 5 to get 10. And we are at the point of convergence. We got 6, we got 15, we got 10, we got 10. Which one are we going to take? The largest number, the 15. So the largest number, 15, gets put in there. 15 plus 4 is 19. And that's how we get 19. So the critical path is 19 in this case. Okay? Now we're going to do the backward pass. You know the rule. Drop the 19. Subtract the duration of 4. You get 15. Right? The 15 goes back here. 15 minus 7 is 8. The 8 goes here. 8 minus 4 is 4. The 15 also goes up top here. 15 minus 2 is 13. Okay, makes sense so far, I hope. And then we take this 15 and put it here. 15 minus 5 is 10. We put the 15 here as well. 15 minus 6 is 9. You got to know your backward pass rules. You cannot go to A yet because we have a point of divergence. You can see we got 1, 2, 3, 4 arrows. So going backwards, you always want to get all of these first before you decide which one goes in there. 10 here. 9 here. And we've come to the point of divergence. Which one is the smallest? It is the 4. 4 there. 0. And as usual, you can find the total float, late finish minus early finish for all of them. Or you can find the free float. But it gets murkier than this, British. So for the CAPM exam, you do not need to go as crazy as you would for the PMP. I think knowing them to this degree would be good. Just practice what you see online. Go through the online tutorials I've got. In addition to what you have on the LMS, the tutorials that follow, you should be all right. You should be okay. All right. So just let me know how well you're doing and how it's going along. I do not use the one method at all, Sharon. I'm sorry. I do not use it. It's rather confusing to students. So I have never taught it. But what I can tell you, what I can show you is how to get to a one method looking network diagram if you're using the zero method. So let me show you that. So let's go to this one. The difference, what is happening here, I would add a 1 to all the ES's and the LS's. So this would become, I would have a 1 here. If I was using the one method, I'm sorry, I would have a 1 here. I would have a 1 here. I would have a +1 here, which will make this 6. I would have a +1 here, which would make this 11. I would have a +1 here, which would make this 6. A +1 here, which would make this 6 as well. A +1 here, which would make this 16. And a +1 here, which would make this 16. And it's just a difference in appearance, in my opinion. Okay? In my opinion. And all I need to do is just remember, you know, if I was asked, which day of the month did you finish? Well, we finish on the 30th, whether it's one method or zero method. If the question was, you start on a Monday, which day do you finish task A? Well, Monday's 1, Tuesday's 2, Wednesday's 3, Thursday's 4, Friday's 5. Now, if you're using the zero method and they said, which day did you start task B? Then you need to remember that B, if you had a 5, right? 5 is actually going to be the 6th day because your 0 is your first day. So it's just remembering that in the zero method, there's always the subtraction of 1 across the board. But once you remove 1 from the beginning, you don't have to do it again, which is why I like the zero method. I've never had a student that said, oh, my exam was all messed up because I used the zero. No. And the PMI, they know this. Let me read it from the horse's mouth, okay? It said, oh dear, it says, note, this is page 211. This example uses the accepted convention of the project starting on day 1. Now I know someone on that team was a day 1 convert. Starting on day 1, for calculating start and finish dates, there are other accepted conventions that may be used. So the zero method, the one method, that's fine. Whatever suits your fancy, do it. But please know it well. Do not be confused. I do not profess to be a one method advocate or fan, but I do know how to convert my diagram to look like the one method by adding 1 to the starts. Okay, I hope that helps you. And thank you very much for all of the questions that you guys sent. Really appreciate that. What would the free slack be for A? Free slack would be the successor minus the task EF. So let's go there. So in this case, let me go back to my image. Because like I told you, I am not a convert of the one method at all. Let me go back to my zero method image. So looking at the zero method, the free slack for A is the early start of B minus the early finish of A, and it's 0. Because A is always the beginning, right? The beginning is always 0. The beginning and the end, that's a trick, depending on how the path is. But if there's just one beginning and one end, and they're not multiple beginnings, because some diagrams have multiple beginnings and multiple ends, but if there's one beginning and one end, it's always going to be 0. Reminds me of a student that got this big old network diagram, and what is the slack on the critical path? And this student got all excited and brought out the pencils and the blank paper and started drawing this big old network diagram and wasted 10 minutes in calculating, only to realize on the critical path, which always starts at the beginning, the first task is always going to have a project slack, or total slack rather, or free slack of 0, because it's the first one. Although there could be some instances, if I trickily engineered this, I could engineer this in such a way that on your backward pass, something could go wrong. So just be aware. But as a rule of thumb, on the critical path, those tasks, slack or float 0. All right? I hope that helps you, my friends. It's that time we need to shut it down. Thank you for all the lovely questions. This video will not be posted immediately, but some pieces of it will be posted. Sharon Joy says, never mind, I'll stick with the 0 method. Good choice. Good choice. British, I hope this helped you. Thank you all very much. We'll go back to our former stream where we're taking a look at risk management and some other things. But thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Don't worry about the corona thing. It's all going to be good. You guys are going to do well on your exam. Stay positive, all right? Take care. Bye for now.